Senator Wicker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I'm certainly delighted to be here today with Governor Haley Barbour. Let me say that Senator Thad Cochran would like to have been here also, but he's handling the supplemental bill on the floor, and so I'm standing in place of the senior senator. I appreciate Governor Barbour's service and leadership to the state of Mississippi and to the nation. There is a great deal of insight that can be learned from Governor Haley Barbour's exemplary leadership during Hurricane Katrina. And I hope the subcommittee will find this testimony useful in moving forward in determining the role of Community Development Block Grant program in disaster recovery. I want to commend the chair and the subcommittee for having testimony from various viewpoints. And I'm glad that another fellow Mississippian is here today. My schedule prevented me from hearing Mr. Riley Morris's testimony, but I was able to review his prepared statement. Every Mississippian remembers where they were and what they were doing on August 29, 2005. Katrina came ashore as the worst natural disaster ever to hit North America, not just Mississippi, but the entire continent. Its 30-foot storm surge and winds of over 125 miles per hour changed the entire Gulf Coast forever. And in spite of the enormous challenges Hurricane Katrina placed on Mississippi, it gave us an opportunity to prove to the rest of the country the strength, perseverance, and pride of the people of our state. After the storm hit, as a member of the House Appropriations Committee at the time, I worked closely with other members of the Mississippi Congressional Delegation, Senator Cochran and Governor Barbour, to craft a disaster recovery bill that adequately met the needs of all states impacted by the storm. As we worked to draft a bill, it became evident that the disaster recovery funds needed to be flexible so the states could identify and respond to their most pressing needs. Immediately after the storm, Mississippi faced the challenge of rebuilding communities from the ground up. When you are faced with that challenge, the priorities quickly change and the recovery process constantly evolves. The congressional intent of the CDBG for Hurricane Katrina-related recovery is clear. It was designed to allow state leaders, such as Governor Barbour, to work with mayors, county supervisors, and other state officials in coordination with HUD administrators to allow flexibility in the rebuilding process. State and local leaders understand the rebuilding needs more than a bureau official in Washington, D.C., and I believe this is a key reason why the CDBG program has been effective in Mississippi. In the first wave of CDBG funds for Katrina-related recovery, the HUD Secretary is specifically authorized to issue waivers from previously enacted CDBG regulations to allow the use of such funds for the, and I quote, the necessary expenses related to disaster relief, long-term recovery, and restoration of infrastructure, unquote, directly related to the consequences of Hurricane Katrina. In general, the Emergency Supplemental Act states that at least 50% of the funds must primarily benefit homeowners with low to moderate incomes. Indeed, as Governor Barbour will testify, that to date, Mississippi has used over 70% of its CDBG funds on housing-related projects. Recently, there's been some discussion about the state of Mississippi's use of CDBG funds for the rebuilding of the port of Gulfport. It is indeed clear that the use of CDBG funds to rebuild the port of Gulfport is consistent with the intent of the law, since the project is a necessary expenditure resulting from Hurricane Katrina and is needed to restore infrastructure in addition to addressing the long-term recovery needs of Mississippi. Chairman Landrieu, I want to commend you for having this hearing today on the role of the CDBG program in disaster recovery. Although the program was not initially envisioned as a disaster recovery program, it has turned out to be the best mechanism to move federal dollars to the state in circumstances such as Katrina. The program is certainly not without its problems and flaws. As you will hear today, some of the waivers are problematic, and the use of CDBG funds for disaster recovery purposes is far from perfect. That's why I'm glad the committee is holding this hearing today. I want to commend the chairman for your subcommittee's work and commitment to improving disaster recovery and response. Much has been accomplished, but we still have more work to do. As the chair well knows, the media coverage may have diminished, but Hurricane Katrina is far from over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.